Okay, so that's a spot. Sorry to stop you already, but that's a spot that keeps happening there. So in part 2, on the A, see where I am here. This A here, you tend to lift it off early, and you actually hear an open E instead.
Right.
Yeah. And so that's a sort of an extreme example of what can happen in a tremolo with that last note of the pattern. So it's really important if you can try and hold that before you shift to the next chord. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Good. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, it forces you to. It also, it forces you to musically just to ease up a little bit, right? Because, and I think it's good to do that because the phrase. We've talked about the phrase structure before. How the phrases start. Generally when a composer starts with an upbeat like this, he's going to repeat that kind of phrase structure for most of the piece, and he does that, here. So the phrase really starts. Yeah, I think we've talked about this before. So, but he just keeps on repeating that pattern. So what you have to do there, and easing up a little bit, it brings out that. You hear? I'm trying to make it really clear. Is it clear that what I'm talking about with the phrasing?
Yeah, it's almost not a rest, but it sort of slows down a bit, maybe. At the end of the phrase.
There's a sort of some kind of not quite a pause, not quite a rest, but some kind of a break in the phrase. It's very subtle, but it's there. Yeah. Great. Okay, so you want to continue? Yeah. All right. Beautiful. Good. Yeah. There wasn't too much. There were a couple of little spots, but overall, it's much more consistent now, and that's what you want to keep aiming for, that consistency, and the speed will come as a result. Once you have that consistency really like super comfortable, you'll find yourself being able to play a little bit faster, and keep the same consistency. Because right now, if you try and play faster, all that work, all that consistency just kind of goes away a little bit. So, and the tempo you're playing it at now, it still works. I mean, it sounds beautiful at this tempo. I don't think it has to be much faster, just a little bit faster. Yeah, so I think that's probably the main focus. Just the evenness of those three things. Of evenness of rhythm, so you can use the metronome to practice that, and then evenness of volume, so that everything is sort of neutral, the same volume, and evenness of articulation, so every note is the same length.
Rhythm, volume, and articulation.
Volume and articulation, yeah, or length. You could say even length, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Very good. Yeah, that's beautiful. Beautiful.
So I'll start from the top.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, you could probably, I can hear you. So your A finger is that, you said the nail is, so that's probably making it a bit more difficult to do. But I think, I can see how just doing this for a couple of minutes can be very useful for the tremolo as well, right? You can see it's a good sort of preparation, like a good warm up, something a bit easier that you can really focus on, focus on, evenness, and even when you change, there is a chord change, in this arpeggio. It's like even that. It's sort of like a really simplified. It's really distilling what we've talked about in the tremolo, the chord changes and keeping that smooth, and then the evenness of the right hand. It's like distilling that in an exercise that's quite straightforward. So you can really focus on those sort of ideas or those principles, and not have to worry too much about the material that you're working on. It's just that makes sense. So you want to try that again and see if you can, even though I know your A finger is a little uneven, but if you can try to keep that as consistent as possible. Yeah, this is so good. This is like the perfect material. So, you partly could be your A finger, but you tend to you're accenting different notes. I don't know if you were aware. And then the other thing I noticed that time, which is quite easy to happen, and relates exactly to the tremolo, is that this note you played as an open G, or it should be a G sharp. So you took your finger a little bit too early. Just like with the tremolo, it's like you want to hold that note down as long as possible and keep it as long as possible, because that makes a beautiful, if you can connect that as long as possible to the next chord, it makes a beautiful transition to the next chord. So you're going to try that again? I think if you listen back, because I'm recording this, you can listen back it's at about 25 minutes into the video, 25 minutes in. Yeah, listen back, and you might be, it will really show where those inconsistencies are in where how you're accenting certain fingers and that kind of thing. It's quite subtle, like it's not super obvious, but yeah, it's something you can work on just to really iron it out so that it's, you know, as even in all aspects as possible. Yeah.
I'll try the other one, or is that?
Yeah, try the next one. Yep. Good. Yeah, that was maybe it seems to be that seems to be a little easier for you than the first one, actually, in terms of the evenness. I thought. Did you think? Did you feel that's?
Yeah, it seemed alright. Yeah.
Good. Maybe you will try the third one.
Yeah.
Nice, good, yeah. You can see how, again, changing chords, even at this fairly basic chord progression, the real artistry is like changing the chords like really smoothly. Like that's the real distinction between, you know, like. Make it as flowing and imperceptible, and you know, like you don't want the person listening, if there was someone listening, you don't want them to be able to detect that you're shifting almost, right? That you're changing chords. It just happens so very seamlessly. It's a very seamless transition. And even at a basic, you know, E to B7, even at that, it's still something that, you know, you can enhance. Good, that was a little better. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.